Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping into a really powerful sermon that, honestly, flips a common idea on its head. What it actually means to be blessed. We're going to break down how this teaching reframes the blessing from something you get to something you become. So let's start right there. When you hear somebody say, "Oh, I am so blessed," what's the first thing that pops into your mind? For pretty much all of us, it's tied to the good stuff happening in our lives, right? You know, the tangible, positive things we can see and feel. You're probably thinking of a new car, maybe a promotion at work, or just that amazing feeling when things are finally going your way. And the sermon we're digging into today says, hey, that's not wrong, but it's not the whole story either. It's really just the effects, not the actual cause of what the Bible calls the blessing. Okay, let's get into the heart of this thing. The sermon lays out this three-step progression that totally changes how we see the blessing. It starts with a formula, then it leads to a gift, and it ends with the results we're all pretty familiar with. So here they are, the blessing of Abraham, then the blessing, notice that's singular, and finally, blessings, plural. Now the key here, and this is so important, is that you really can't have one without the other. Each level is built on the last one. So let's start at the very beginning, with the gateway. All right, level 1 is what the Bible calls the blessing of Abraham. Now, I want you to think of this as the key. It's the key that unlocks absolutely everything else. It's the non-negotiable first step if you want to experience this new way of understanding the blessing. Now, this is where it starts to get really interesting. Most of us, when we hear Abraham's blessing, we think about wealth, land, a huge family. But this sermon argues it has nothing to do with getting stuff. It's all about a specific spiritual transaction, a total shift in how you relate to God. And the speaker is so clear on this. He says the blessing of Abraham is the formula Abraham used to be seen as righteous by God. And here's the wild part. It wasn't about what Abraham did. It was all about what he believed. His faith. That was the key. So what does that actually mean? Well, the whole point is this. This first blessing is about you accepting a gift you could never earn. It's about being made right with God just by believing, not by trying to be perfect on your own. This right here is the gateway to everything that follows. So, okay, you've used the key, you've walked through that gateway of faith. What's on the other side? Well, the sermon argues that what you receive is the blessing, singular. And believe me, this is a total game changer. See, the sermon teaches that this isn't just God patting you on the back saying you're okay. No, it's about receiving a person, a source of divine power that comes to live right inside of you. And boom, here it is. This is the core of the entire teaching. The blessing isn't a what, it's a who. It's the actual person of the Holy Spirit coming to live inside a believer. I mean, this is such a huge shift from how things worked in the Old Testament. Remember the story of Esau? He lost his father's blessing and he could never, ever get it back. That's because back then it was a one-time external thing someone said over you. But now in the New Testament, the source of the blessing is internal and it's always accessible. Okay, so if level 1 is the formula and level 2 is receiving the Holy Spirit, where do the cars and the promotions and the good health fit in? Well, that brings us right to level 3, blessings, plural. According to this teaching, all of these tangible things, the peace, the wisdom, the favor, the prosperity, they're the fruit. They're the fruit that grows from the tree of your relationship with the Holy Spirit. They are the evidence that the source is alive and well inside you, but they are not the source itself. You know, when you really get this 3-level framework, it does something profound. It changes your whole posture. You go from someone who's constantly seeking blessings to someone who is a source of blessing. It completely shifts your focus. I mean, instead of chasing after all the external stuff, the money, the success, the validation, your top priority becomes cultivating that internal relationship with the blessing, with the Holy Spirit. The speaker uses this amazing analogy. He says that as you go deeper in your relationship with the Holy Spirit, you become like a spiritual magnet. Instead of running after people and resources and opportunities, you start to attract them because you're lined up with your purpose. And that kind of leaves us with a final, pretty challenging question for you to think about. If this is true, then what if the goal isn't just to get blessed, but to become a blessing? What if you're actually meant to be a channel for this divine power to flow through you and out into the world?